Welcome to The Sensitive Warrior, where feeling everything is your superpower. I am your host today, Doreen Lang, and I'm also author of Embracing Venus, Achieve a Life Lit Up for Highly Sensitive People. This is my book cover for your convenience. And I also am a coach. I help highly sensitive people thrive. So I'm here today with somebody very interesting. This is Cheryl Jones. She is an author and owner of Thrive 55 Wellness. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Doreen. So happy to be here today.
I'm so happy you're here. This show is really to empower, give insight, education for highly sensitive people. So when I heard about you, I was really excited because I do know personally that mindfulness is key to help people calm down, calm their minds down, and get very present, right? So they can handle the world. And energy is a wonderful thing for us highly sensitive people, but overwhelm is the stick that breaks our back. So I'm really excited that you're going to be here today and tell us about this important tool we can have in our toolbox. But first, if you could talk about how you started and got all jazzed up about this wonderful topic.
Thank you so much for that. I remember walking through the streets of Newport, Rhode Island. This is, back when I was married and I had just my one child, and I went from kind of like this very casual stroll to a purposeful walk that brought me to a bookstore. And I remember walking into the bookstore, and the owner or the manager came up to me and said, how can I help you? And to this perfect stranger, my eyes welled up, and I said, I don't know what to do next. And she didn't skip a beat. She walked me over to a table and she gave me Jon Kabat-Zinn's book, Wherever You Go, There You Are. This is back in 1995. And that was the book that changed my life. It was the book that made me realize that I'm an exercise physiologist. I like to move. I never thought that I was capable of being still. And his book was relatable to me. It was very practical, and I thought, oh, mindfulness meditation, I can do this. So that was the opening to the rest of my journey with mindfulness.
Wow. So what is your education?
Yeah, so my undergraduate training and degree is in physical education and health. And my graduate work is in exercise science and health education. And I've always been very curious about what is this body-mind, spirit, heart, soul connection? What does it mean to be a whole person? We talk a lot about holistic health, but what does that actually mean? And so I guess you could say that's really been my professional quest to understand that on a personal level. That led me to training at UMass Memorial and their mindfulness-based stress reduction program, and to the University of Hartford, where I obtained a certificate in spirituality. Thought I wanted to bring this into spiritual counseling. So my own journey was sort of reflective of me trying to figure it out. What does holistic health and well-being actually mean? And then how do I bring that to the people that I serve, whether it's individuals or employees in organizations or community, whoever.
Right. So when you first talked about physical ed, I pictured wearing those uniforms in elementary school, gym class, and how much I tried to avoid it. And a lot of other people did too. But of course the jocks and all that were. So I guess people think of that, right?
Yeah, I think so. The way that we were introduced at first to work with our bodies was pretty limiting. You were either athletic or not so much, or like you said, you either looked forward to physical education class, or back then it was called gym, or you dreaded it. And so we really didn't have a lot of opportunities to explore enjoying physical activity and movement and, what it means to have a body and have fun with it.
Right. So then you've really kind of always thought about this and kind of wanted to work and pull this all together. basically, from a holistic approach.
Yeah, I did. And it's funny that you mentioned we're talking about high school, which I didn't see that coming, but it's kind of fun because when I was in high school, I held some leadership roles, and one of them was in student council, and I was very much an advocate for health. I remember, going into the principal's office and saying, "Hey, we need a salad bar and we need yogurt in the cafeteria." So I'm not a nutritionist, but the interest in being a healthy person was always in me.
Always in you,
and
sure.
not just with food. I remember putting in our senior hallway the words to the James Taylor song, "The Secret of Life," is enjoying the passage of time. And all JT fans, you know who you are, know that song. But I remember feeling so like it hit me. It was profound. It had a profound impact, enough that I put the words on a poster and hung it up in our senior hallway. So it's interesting, when you invited me to be on the show, and I started researching, what is a highly sensitive person? I thought, gee, I wonder if that's me. Like, what kind of teenager writes those words out?
Right.
So
yeah, that you felt so deeply.
yeah,
Right.
yeah,
Right. So fast forward, you wrote a book.
yes.
So why don't you tell us kind of how that came about?
Yeah, so my book is Thriving When Your Cosmic Egg is Cracked, Mindful Journey. And this is really my story from, taking a mindfulness practice that was supposed to be to help everybody else to surviving the most tumultuous time of my life. In 2001, I was married. I still have, but at the time my children were 3 and 6. And my husband at the time was indicted for a number of white-collar crimes. And it was a very embarrassing, shocking, painful, really stressful time. It was overwhelming.
I can't imagine. Yeah.
And it ended in divorce, him going to prison for 10 years, and me raising our 2 children by myself with no child support, no alimony. No, I wasn't even working. At that time, I was a stay-at-home mom with a few consulting gigs.
Wow. Talk about a life change.
Yeah, so it was really the opportunity to bring what I thought I knew. Yeah, I know mindfulness, but it's like, can mindfulness, having a mindfulness meditation practice, help me to navigate this intense, very difficult situation and be the kind of parent that I wanted to be?
Of course.
In a situation that I never thought I would find myself
Crisis
in.
mode. Right.
So that's what my book is about, but it's not just my story, it's every chapter. The chapters are very small, and every chapter has a little reflective exercise, so it really helps my readers to travel a parallel journey with me for whatever they're facing, even if they're not going through a very chaotic time right now. To me, the journey to wholeness, no matter what we've all faced, because we've all had our own heartbreak and loss and disappointment.
Right.
And so how does that relate to my readers was what my writing coach was always encouraging me to, keep front of mind. So even if people aren't going through a difficult time, hopefully there's something in there to learn about how does the practice of mindfulness help us to cultivate resilience and not shut down when all hell is breaking loose.
Right. And I bet people say this to you. When people pick up my book, again, I write about highly sensitive people, and it's all true stories about my journey, but also real factual and informational. People will say to me, I wish I had this 10 years ago. Yeah. So, that thrills me because that's why I wrote it.
Yes.
But I'm saying that about yourself. I'm saying that I actually had a client who came in last week, and she said, I have your book on my bureau, but I'm just finishing up Thriving When Your Cosmic Egg is Cracked. So I said, that's so great. So she's local. She's probably been one of the networkings. Maybe you and I have crossed paths with her or whatever. lovely person, but she's reading your book and she says she's enjoying it. So, yeah, that's kind of what we write it for, right? So we can make an impact, a positive impact, and help people along the way, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And it sounds like the way that you're helping people is very similar. We have different approaches, but our intention is the same. And so it wouldn't surprise me that somebody would be reading your book
Right.
and my book.
Right.
And,
At
you
the
know, we
same
all have a
time.
journey.
That's
and so
right. That's right.
I love that we get to have this conversation to uplift other people.
So I think mindfulness is a word that I'm very comfortable with, but I'd love you to share what that is for people who are listening and watching, are thinking, I think I know what that is, but what is it really? So how could you describe that in such a term where people could really get it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a great question, because while a lot of people have heard about mindfulness, and while there's so many research articles that talk about the benefits of mindfulness, I think it's still a little bit confusing for people. So
Yeah.
I think of mindfulness, and again, I'm coming from the mindfulness-based stress reduction program. So I was like a little duck to John Kabat-Zinn and Saki Santorelli and all the other great teachers that were, teaching this program back then. So where I'm coming from is it has Buddhist roots, but it's not rooted. It's very secular, so that it can fit for all people, no matter what one's personal beliefs are.
Mm-hmm.
And so to me, mindfulness is about being present in the moment. It's about noticing. It's a practice of noticing what is happening within us, what is happening around us. And when we're noticing what's happening within us, we are noticing breathing. There's no breathing technique. We're just noticing that the body is breathing. We're noticing thoughts. We're getting familiar with what are the thoughts that are going through my mind. We're noticing feelings. What are the feelings that are present for me in this moment?
Mm-hmm.
We're noticing sensations. What does it feel like to be sitting in this chair, in this space, in this moment? What's happening within my body? So mindfulness is about being present in the moment, and it's the practice of noticing without judgment. So let me just add,
yes,
non-judgmental awareness. So we're noticing with an attitude of openness and curiosity.
I love that. It almost sounds like a poem. So back to kind of the work we do. I have many, I'd probably say almost all clients that come in. One of the kind of symptoms of being a highly sensitive person with a sensitivity processing is that they have a really hard time calming their mind. Mm-hmm. They're kind of always wondering and thinking about others, doing for others. They're worrying. Worrying is huge, and ruminating is a real problem. Even once they make a decision, they're going back and forth and back and forth. And then we talk a lot about the monkey mind, right? And I always tell people, well, your thoughts are jumping from branch to branch, and we have to calm those down. So I take them through a guided visualization, either a beach or the woods, and I take them to my Reiki for a Reiki session just to get them calm before I coach, because often people come in with all of their stuff, and they really want to feel better, but they just can't get quiet. They can't get quiet. So that must be the work you're doing. My tool is Reiki as well as the coaching. But I know that you are out working in this industry right now. So tell us about your experience working with, I think you're working with groups of people, right? You just left, I talked to you and you had been to New York. So had a client there,
yes,
right?
Yes.
So how were those folks and what were they looking for?
Yeah, so, whether it's in an organization, I will go into an organization and work with teams and introduce mindfulness practice. I also have a coaching studio here in Plymouth, in the Plymouth Post Office building, and that's where I work with people individually, or I also offer group coaching. But, to your point about working with the busy mind, mindfulness practice is very much centered on how to skillfully work with thoughts. So, for example, if we're doing a mindfulness practice, I'm inviting people, again, whether it's in the workplace or in my studio, we're human beings. So we all have this capacity for awareness, this capacity for mindfulness. We also have a busy mind. It's the way that we're wired. And it's wired that way because we are wanting to protect ourselves when we feel a threat. And so when the body is in what we call fight or flight mode, oftentimes that's when it's going off to these stressful thoughts and even sometimes stressful thought patterns of worrying. We're problem solving, we're projecting out into the future. And so the skill of mindfulness and how it relates to daily living, not just when we're in our meditation practice, is to notice the thought. When we have a stressful thought, a lot of times we are trying to block it out. But if we want to lay down new neural pathways in the brain, because we know that's possible, neuroplasticity, we can change the way that we think. It starts with noticing, what is that stressful thought that is going through my mind in this very moment? And allow ourselves to notice that thought and then say, okay, let me get my 2 feet on the ground, literally put our 2 feet on the ground and follow the breath in and out. Notice that stressful thought, let it go, come back to the breath. Again and again and again. Even if we have the same stressful thought 100 times, it's the practice of noticing it, releasing it, and coming back to the breath. That is how we start to lose the power that that stressful thought has over us and create new neural pathways so that we actually can train our brain to not worry as much.
Yeah.
What a gift.
Yeah. Right.
And so empowering.
So empowering. Again, the clients that come in, they're suffering with all sorts of digestive issues, because they're holding their stress in that place. And one woman she came in and we were talking, and she wanted to, join me on I have a 7-week program and a 12-week program, and she was interested in the 12 because she has just old habits and she wants to break. And she said, she goes, I'm sorry, I can't help it, I'm always sighing. And I'm thinking, she's not breathing. She's constantly holding her breath. She's also holding her stress, holding her breath. And I thought about you when I thought about, this is why this work is so important.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it's interesting. As I was mentioning earlier and connecting to what you were just saying, Doreen, mindfulness is the practice of noticing. So we're befriending the breath so that it can be there for us in those moments when we're starting to feel a little overwhelmed by our thoughts, our busy mind, and also feelings. And so mindfulness is the practice of, with loving compassion, giving ourselves permission to notice. A lot of times we're afraid to notice our feelings because we're afraid we're going to be overtaken by them. But again, through being able to create a little bit of space to acknowledge whatever feeling we're feeling in the moment. Maybe we're feeling sadness or anger or fear. That is the opportunity to pause, again, put 2 feet on the ground, follow our breathing in and out.
And set the intention that this is what you're here to do.
Yeah, to just notice, it's noticing. We're not efforting, we're just noticing. And a lot of times we notice that we carry our certain feelings in certain parts of the body. So again, with openness and curiosity, we're befriending ourselves.
Right.
We're trying to learn and get to know ourselves better and befriending ourselves, allowing whatever is here and now to be okay. And if it is too much, if, for example, a person does feel like, ooh, I'm getting overwhelmed, this is too much, you can always return your attention back to the breath and back to being in this moment and just staying with breath. Because that's true. As long as we're alive, the body is breathing.
Right. And what's so interesting about this, it's one of those things, this practice, that people might be listening saying, I can do that. Well, yes, you can. But there's something about working with somebody helping you do that because you're making it important. You're putting time into it. You're putting intention on it. Someone's guiding you. You're kind of learning the practice, and then you can do this on your own.
Yes.
But I do find that people say, I can't meditate. I can't slow down. I can't stop my mind, and they're not. And they're telling me the truth. They can't. Do they have the capacity? Sure, I think everyone has the capacity. I just do. However, people really do need guidance with these things.
Yes, and I think it's true, and that's why people are drawn to coaches who specialize in different aspects of health and well-being, because there is a skill involved. And if we can't do something, or we don't have the self-efficacy, that we don't believe that we are capable of doing something, that is exactly what coaches do. We're not, I always say, I'm not empowering you. It's, I'm going to teach you skills and practices that help you to feel empowered about your own capabilities, and I know that's what you do too. And so the empowerment comes from igniting something within a person, and that's the beauty of the work that you and I do in different ways.
Right, that's so true. You know, highly sensitive people, when they come in, and my program is built around the real issues they struggle with. One of them is boundaries. And one of them is they lost their self along the way. They completely lost their authenticity because they're caring for so many other people that they feel they put in front of them. Exercise is something they don't even consider because they're just too busy. Energy vampires, narcissists, things that they have such a huge well of empathy. But with the coming of that is the thoughts of am I enough? Should I be doing this? Should I be doing that? So those are really my clients that come in. And they're also people that are stuck and they don't have the confidence to move on. And I really think mindfulness has a lot to do with confidence, because people do feel powerless over their feelings, their emotions. They feel like, God, that's just me. That's just me. That's how I'm wired. Yeah. Well, sure. But we can kind of unwire you a little bit, you know? So can you give me an idea or tell us just a story of maybe a client that came in and you could actually see her progress almost right in front of you?
Yeah, this work is so powerful, and it is transformative, and I know that sometimes that word gets thrown around a lot, but I had a client who came in, and it was more for her work team. She wanted to reduce her stress, because the practice of mindfulness is first and foremost reducing stress, because stress is oftentimes the barrier to us making the healthy changes that we want, whether it's within our physical bodies, our relationships, our effectiveness at work. So this particular person was coming because she wanted to be a better leader. And by developing a consistent mindfulness practice, what she ended up doing was losing 50 pounds and getting completely medication free. And she did not see that coming. She was there for her leadership capacity, and her personal health and wellness improved, and that really, she did not expect that change. And so again, the practice of mindfulness, I say come with an open mind. I believe in intention. I believe that it's helpful to be clear on what we want to create. But I also think it's really powerful to say, I want to reduce my stress and then see what happens. Yeah. Where will I blossom? How might I thrive? Because, again, the practice of mindfulness, I don't know when I'm coaching someone how it's going to manifest in them, and that's the beauty. It's come with an open mind with the intention to reduce your stress, and then see how it ends up helping you thrive, perhaps in some very unexpected ways.
That's a great story. Do you find predominantly women are coming to see you, or is there a nice mix?
I would say it's probably 65-ish percent that are women, but I think that I do serve both women and men, and it's really anybody who wants to grow. I think it's that commonality of wanting to, as people are, it's very popular to say, live your best life. I think that's what it is. Anybody who wants to live their best life. And like you had said, we can accept ourselves and also have a willingness to change and grow, or an openness to change and grow. We can do both, except this is where I am at this moment in time, but also open to the possibilities, because who knows?
Right, where it's going to take you. Yeah, that's really interesting. So tell us about your new studio.
I'm very excited. I've been in Plymouth for 2.5 years now, and I think this has kind of been bubbling within me for a while, and so I've been looking for a space since last spring, actually, was when I had the idea that, I need brick and mortar again. I'm like too lonely at home, and even though I have a partner, one wonderful person who I live with, it was like, I want to find my own place in this community. So I started looking for space, and after several months, landed in the Plymouth Post Office building. So I didn't even realize that there was office space down there.
That's great. Yeah, that's really fun. Yeah, I love that. Yeah, it's so interesting, isn't it, with the brick and mortar? I was on a podcast last week, and the woman said to me, "Now, do you hang around with highly sensitive people?" And I thought it was such a really interesting question. And I said, "Yeah, my people, right?" She says, "Yeah." I said, "No." I said, "No, because it's 15 to 20% of the population. So, it's not that they're everywhere. They're not everywhere. But almost all my clients that come in for Reiki are coming in to de-stress. And most of them have highly sensitive traits. Yeah. So those are like my people. So I'm with them all day long. So do you find that the people that come in to the brick and mortar, do you find that, two questions really, do you find that they enjoy kind of in real time, or do they enjoy the virtual approach? What do you find that people kind of get, or is it just personal? Personal?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question. I think, again, mindfulness is the awareness of, being in the present moment, and it always helps us to notice, what do I need in this moment? What do I need today? Do I need to go into a space and be part of a class with other people? So I teach a couple classes in the studio, and I also teach virtually. And because I do believe that we need to be able to honor where we are. Some weeks are just busier than others, and so that's why I'm choosing to do both the in-person and virtual, so that people can choose. Is this the kind of a day where I want to be part of a group? I want to feel other human beings around me, or is this a day where I just am so jammed up that I just want to dial in, via Zoom? And so I think for me, I'm trying to offer people the option, because that's such an important part of self-care, to have those choices if it's possible.
It's so interesting. During COVID, people obviously weren't getting together. And so many of these meetings and lessons and courses were developed and sustained online. And now I feel that people are really, depending what it is, they're so more open. They're so more open to just jumping on a Zoom. Yeah. They really are. I had a call with a woman the other day, and I said to her, looking forward to talking with you today at 1. Would you rather Zoom? Because she was just going to call me. And she said, yes. I'm thinking, oh boy, I better jump to my computer and get on the email and send it out to her. And because I thought she said I'm old school, but she wasn't that old school. Yeah. So how about age-wise?
Well, Thrive 55 Plus Wellness. So my brand, my studio, is very much focused on people who are over 55, because that's my age group, and I tend to, through my whole career, kind of teach from where I'm at myself. But so I service everyone. We were out playing pickleball with, a couple of teenagers from Plymouth North last week, so I would love if they came in too. So even though my focus is on people that are in my age group, I welcome everyone to the studio or virtually. I believe it's so important to have this intergenerational mix that we can learn from each other. But at the same time, there are issues that we face being over 55, maybe having adult children, grandchildren, whatever, certain issues that are very relevant for us that, people can share and create community and collectively solve some problems together.
that would be a beautiful thing. So as we're wrapping up, kind of share with the audience and myself maybe something that you'd like them to think about or consider when they think about mindfulness.
Yeah, I so appreciate that, Doreen. And, for me, this has always been like what is the most self-caring choice that I can make right now? That's the question that I would invite people to kind of ponder, right here, right now, what is the most self-caring choice that you can make? And if that can become your habit, that way of thinking, I think is a powerful way to live, because it's demonstrating, everybody talks about love yourself and self-care and, put the oxygen mask on yourself first.
Right.
And how we actually do that is one breath, one moment, one choice at a time. So before we actually make a change, I think it's helpful to notice, like, what am I actually doing? And not in a judgy way, but in an opening to the possibilities way, so that we can consider, what does self-care look like for me? And really importantly, I think, to remember that self-care isn't selfish. I know we've heard that probably, but it does help us, for people who are highly sensitive and those of us who simply want to really be there for other people.
Right.
We can do that better if it's an inside-out job. And mindfulness to me is always about that inside-out job, taking care of myself so that everyone I touch, even strangers, I have a more positive impact on.
I love that. That's a wonderful way to end it. And I always tell people, when you work on yourself, when you do this kind of important work, you are touching the collective in the most powerful way that you may not even know it, even as simply as feeling good and saying hello to someone at the supermarket who changes their day. Not that that's your job, but it certainly feels wonderful to feel and transmit that wonderful energy. So thank you for coming on. This has been really interesting.
Thank you so much for having me, Doreen.
I'm just so happy to have met you too. And to all you highly sensitive people, this is a wonderful tool for your toolbox, and I'm so glad you joined us today. And if you'd like to reach out to Cheryl, just email me at Doreen, D-O-R-E-E-N, at blossomhealingstudio.com. And if you'd like to go deeper for yourself in terms of highly sensitive people, learning some of the programs I've shared with you, please reach out to me at Doreen at blossomhealingstudio.com. And until next time, remember, feeling everything is your superpower. See you soon.